I think this is a very, very important topic for both physical health, but also mental health.
Yeah, and the two overlap because it's one body, and what it takes to change physical health is the same recipe that it takes to change that mental health. And you hit it on the head. When I was a young man, I thought swiping my credit card and paying the physical therapist or paying the practitioner for that time frame, maybe it was once a week at 30 minutes, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, I thought that was me doing my part. I'm exchanging my time and appointments and money for a result. And there were so many people that I went through, and it's really no knock on them because I understand that a lot of people will do just kind of the basic, what their level of understanding is with their job. They're not asking, did you do your homework? What are you learning? What showed up for you this week in between our appointments? What is happening outside of our time together? That's the real change. If there's 168 hours in a week, if we're only going to spend one of them together, that's not enough. There's no way it's enough. And I didn't understand that until I actually met a physical practitioner that we didn't do movements together. We talked about application and we talked about integration. Our sessions were not learning cool, new, sexy, funky movements that will razzle and dazzle. It's let's talk about the work outside the session. What was done? What are you noticing? What's changing? How are you tracking your progress? How are you looking for results? We're talking about the work that it really takes, the journaling and the daily involvement, the integration. I didn't know that that was missing until 6 years into this healing process and having mentored many practitioners. And I start talking about our work should be more about integration and less just giving people tools. Let's give them the tools and then teach them how to integrate them. A response I often get is, yeah, but they're not going to do it. I think a lot of people lose faith in other people's abilities, which is why these things are not really taught on an integration level. So it's the integration that's the main thing. And I remember dealing with my own mental health issues and first getting a therapist. Again, my mistake was thinking it was that hour a week and that was enough. I'm in therapy. I'm going to rely on that therapist to tell me what I need to do, give me the tools, and I'm good. And it wasn't until I had to go through multiple therapists until I found the one that talked about integration. That's the key. That's the magic sauce here. It's not the tools. It's how we integrate those tools.
Yeah, and a lot of cliches happen when I do these podcasts, but I believe cliches are tropes. And there's a lot of truth that's withstood the test of time in these cliches. And one that comes to my mind now is that you get out what you put in, period. And you cannot just view your healing as transactional, as you alluded to, because transactions don't heal. You put in the work consistently over time, day in and day out, whether it's in the swimming pool, outside, whether it's in your job office, or doing your mobility movements that we'll talk a lot about. You have to put in the work. And it also disheartens me that a lot of practitioners, they lack faith in humans' capacity for change. Because that's what that comes down to. You're like, oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do psychoeducation. I'm only going to provide them concrete, easily memorized techniques, and my job is done. But it's like, well, you have your professional training in whatever field that you're in, and you have the ability to provide psychoeducation. So why not? Because you don't know what's going to click for the people, like the plan we talked about, right? Maybe that one headliner will plant the seed for the healing that come maybe 4 years later. And maybe that one psychoeducation session, the one thing you told a patient or a client, it might click and change that person's life years or even months down the road. But we as leaders and practitioners, we have to do our due diligence by doing everything we can for the clients and patients. Otherwise, what are we getting paid for?
I read this book a while ago, which was titled The Gradual Path. And it really talks a lot about spirituality and a lot of, let's just call it Westerners. And I was very much in this demographic as well. I thought healing was spontaneous. Kind of like what you talked about, right? Maybe it's that one session, it's that one word or sentence or conversation that creates that radical change. And I had in various moments in my life, breaking my back was a spontaneous change. I had kind of only geared my mentality towards looking for those huge spontaneous changes. And those happen. Those are very real and they happen a lot. But when I started to learn that if you can take the gradual path towards change, it's the gradual path that's going to pay off big time. And one of the biggest mistakes I made in trying to heal early on was I was only looking for the spontaneous exercises. What's the one thing that's really going to dial it in? I was looking for those magical moments. And I had forgotten that it is a gradual path to enlightenment. It is a gradual path of many days and many practices that really lead towards the changes that we're looking for. And shifting that narrative away from the spontaneous, those radical big bang moments, back towards what is a practice that can gradually get us there, that was a huge fork in the road moment for me as well.
Yeah. And once again, the underlying theme is that you have to accept your responsibility in healing, right? Because this is a very hot topic. It's like the saying of whatever happens to you, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to come out on the other side, because you're responsible for your life, not the doctor, not the PT, not the corrective science specialist. You are ultimately responsible for your life. So I think that really matters. If you enjoy watching that video, click that side for the full-length episode. Hope you discover something new today and see you again next time. Thanks for watching.